Okay, so today we are going to be working on the overall scene of your story. Now, when you're looking at your story idea from the previous page, number 3, that's where you're going to start writing scenes from. So you can do a scene about number 3, number 4, number 5, any of those 3 scenes. So either the beginning, the middle, or the climactic part. Okay? So that would be the inciting incident, very beginning where the conflict starts, the rising action, or the climactic ending. Okay? So this works for this kind of planning works for any type of writing that you do that has to do with fiction. If it's a novel, if it's a short story, if it's a screenplay. In fact, this is probably borrowed from screenplays. And all scenes have this structure, if you look, especially modern writing. We start off with the goal, the character's goal, what their conflict is. They befall some kind of disaster because of that conflict. They have a reaction to that. Then they have to make a decision. Then they have a dilemma of what they should do about their disaster. Then they have to make a decision and they create a new goal. And then you start all over again. And it keeps going around. It keeps going on until the story ends. So you might have, depending on how long your story is, if you have like a short story, you might only have 3 of these: the beginning, the rising action, and the climax. If you have a novel, you could have as many of these as you have scenes. Some of my novels have like 70, 80 scenes. So I would have 70 or 80 of these goal, conflict, disaster, reaction, decision, dilemma, decision types of things that I made up. Now, I didn't make them up in a circle like this. I made them up as a list. But I kind of like this. This is a neat way of looking at it. So that's why I picked it up for you guys. So you start off with what your character wants at the beginning of that scene. You have to think of where you are, okay, and what your character's doing. So think about that first, what and where. Then go into what their goal is. What is their goal at the beginning of that scene? What's their conflict going to be? What's their inner problem? And then the disaster is that outside conflict, their reaction to that, their dilemma, and then their decision. So this is kind of like a mini plot within the plot. I'm going to show you an example of what I'm doing with my story with Sam and his dad. I don't know if I can make this a little bit closer so you guys can see it better. There we go. Okay. And my example is going to start with the beginning of the story. So just showing you that I'm starting with the beginning of the story here. First of all, I'm going to start with the goal. And at the beginning of my story, Sam is looking forward to spending time with his dad. So you guys have some examples in your notebook. I want you to copy this as I'm doing it. Sam is looking forward to seeing his dad. Now, his parents are divorced, so he doesn't get to see his dad very often. Okay, so the conflict comes in when Dad wants to bring him. I'm going to put S for Sam, okay? S, white water rafting. Okay, now part of this conflict is that in Sam's backstory, his inner conflict is he has a deep fear of water. So he has a fear of deep water. So I'm going to put that down so I don't forget that. I might actually have to do a flashback when I'm actually writing this, which I'll show you how to do that. But basically, I'm going to take and write an exploded moment about that, which would be kind of like a disaster reaction kind of thing. Okay, now, disaster is going to hit. Okay, not only does Dad want to bring Sam whitewater rafting, because Sam could say, nah, Dad, I really don't feel like doing that, maybe, skulk around or whatever. But he finds out that his dad is going to be leaving to go into the service. So maybe his dad's already in the military, which I've decided to do that to make this, he basically has to go with his dad. Because if not, he's disrespecting his dad and might not ever see his dad again. So he'll regret it. So his dad is leaving for deployment. In 2 weeks. So he's leaving soon, very, very soon. Okay, so his reaction to this disaster, Sam's reaction, Sam's in shock. And so now he has a dilemma. Should he go, or should he go with his dad, or should he refuse to go? So go or refuse. So that's what Sam's dilemma is. Okay, remember, he has a really strong fear of this water, and he has a good reason to. But, at the same time, he really wants to honor his dad. So what he decides to do is try to talk his dad out of it. So that's his decision. Sam is going to try to talk Dad out of going. Okay, so this whole thing can happen in like 5 minutes. With a goal, with a scene. Scenes don't take very long. Scenes usually only take 5 to 10 minutes to happen. And that's why with a novel or with a movie you have many, many scenes, because they don't take that long to actually act out. They only take longer when you want to slow down the action. Okay? So I'm going to also show you an example. This is from the beginning of a story. So I'm just starting off with, talking about Sam's fears and all that kind of stuff. And this part of it, it's going to be a little bit longer. My example number 2 is the climax scene. So this is where the water's getting rougher and Sam has to really hold on so he won't fall out. So his goal is not to fall out of the boat. Sam doesn't want to fall out of raft. It's not really a boat, it's a raft. Okay, so that's his goal, is not to fall out. Okay, now his conflict is that the water is getting rougher. And people are enjoying themselves, having fun, including his dad. But of course, he's not having any fun at all. He's just hanging on for dear life. Then the disaster happens. Dad falls in and hits his head. Okay. Oh gosh, now what's Sam going to do? Okay, so he has to have a reaction. He has to react fast. He can't just sit there and go, oh my god, oh my god, oh my god, what do I do? He's got a second to panic and then the second to do something about it. So he panics at first, very short, and then he jumps out of the boat. Raft. Off raft, okay, to go save his dad. Now, his dilemma is to figure out how he's going to save Dad. How is he going to get his dad to a rock so that they can hang on until somebody can help them get out? So he has to figure out, that's his dilemma, is figure out how to help Dad to a rock. Okay, and his decision is doesn't have very long to figure that out. So he holds on to a rock while at the same time reaching for his dad. So he decides to hold on and reach for his dad. Maybe with his feet, or something like that. I don't know if you can do that, but that's physically possible. But he has to hold on to something and reach for his dad at the same time until the raft instructor or whatever can help get the dad out of the water. So that's it. What you're doing with your overall scenes is you're taking a little chunk sizes. This is a little chunk of your story, very small chunk. And you're chunking it even more. This is one little action bit at a time. And of course, with each of these scenes, it's going to be an exploded moment if you notice, okay? Your conflict disaster reaction is actually an exploded moment. But once you have this planned out, I'll show you the next part, how to actually break this down into sentences. And that's called motivation reaction units.
So for this part of the assignment, you're planning your scene that you're going to be writing. This scene can be at the very beginning of your story, where you introduce your character and their small conflict, what happens with that, the disaster and all of that. Or you can choose the rising action, or you can choose what happens at the climax. I feel that the easiest part is to write the part at the climax, okay? Because that's where all your action is. However, you might want to start at the beginning. It's up to you. You get to choose that. So that's your assignment for today.